Greetings and salutations, viewers. Welcome to another episode of Cursed Sight. I am Charles, coming to you today with another episode of shenanigans with our main character, Guy, who is the servant/slave of Miyon, who apparently is some sort of seer or fortune teller or fortune creator. It's still kind of a little fuzzy on how that works. Last time around, we also met Sasa, a belly dancer person who apparently is very good friends with Miyon. So I have a feeling we shall be seeing lots of these two characters along with the Guy. So that's going to be all sorts of fun as I try to do female voices and remember whose voice goes to whom and all that. So how about we dive right back in and see where the story goes from here. Sasa dropped by again a week later, and I just happened to be cleaning Miyon's room at the time. I secretly pumped my fist, feeling luckier than someone finding a bag of gold in the urinal. That's a horrible imagery. Miyon rested her head on Sasa's lap, smiling as Sasa waved the bells on her wrist to produce a melody. I would consider bearing the cursed sight for a day if it meant I could swap places with Miyon. For now, I pretended to wash this wall for the 15th time in the past hour. If I kept scrubbing, the wall might turn into glass. I wanted to spit at the wall just so I would have an excuse to wipe it again and stay in Sasa's presence. Look what I've got you, by the way. Sasa pulled out a bell from the bag sitting beside her. The jewelries adorning this bell glittered under the lantern's glow. Miyon rose to her knees and accepted the bell. After giving Sasa a hug, she waved the bell and listened to it jingle. Sasa turned to me with a smug face. And that's how you win a girl's heart. By giving them bells? I've been doing it wrong then. My pulse raced every time Sasa spoke to me. I rambled off a response to hide my nervousness. Right. Cool bell. Sasa and Miyon shook their heads as if to say boys would never understand. They're not wrong. Miyon then said to me, You was supposed to be washing the dishes half an hour ago. Dear Miyon, thank you for exposing me and making my face much redder than those apples I always collected for you. Way to try and keep Sasa to yourself. Do they sell those bells in town? Miyon asked Sasa. Yes, and all kinds of other things. You should check it out sometime. Miyon lowered her head. King Locke would never allow it. Now I knew why I had never seen Miyon leave the temple. Even I was allowed out for shopping once a week. Let's sneak out tonight, Sasa said. Miyon squeezed her dress. You'll get in trouble if we get caught. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to modulate voices for these two. It seems like Sasa's getting a little breathier, while Miyon is kind of going for the posh voice inadvertently. I just have trouble pitching it up the way I need to right now. Just a half an hour, Sasa winked. If you fear the consequences, you'll never get anything done. Yeah, sorry, it's the cough. I can do the breathiness, or I could do the pitching it up. Doing the two is actually surprisingly complicated. I wasn't expecting that. I can look out for guards or something. Well, that's me. I could look out for guards or something. As soon as those words left my mouth, I regretted them. Sure, I wanted to impress Sasa, but not if I had to sign my will in the process. Sasa knitted her brows. That's sweet, Guy, but I refuse to get you in trouble. Just leave it to me. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know what else to say. Sasa's words reminded me that I was a mere slave, as if I had the right to make any calls. Hey, want to go water the plants with me? Sasa asked, making my heart thump. Oh, I could see it now. She and I would reach for a water spray at the same time, causing our fingers to touch. In time, our love would blossom just like the flowers we watered. Yeah, sure. Sasa is asking me, Miyon said. Ew. With her lips curled like a slice of watermelon, Miyon grabbed Sasa's hand and dragged her out of the room. I guessed Sasa was referring to those plants in the main hall. I should have known she was the one watering them. No way could it have been some guard singing to himself as he sprinkled the petals with the spray. Ugh. The image made me want to throw up. But oh, Sasa. Never before had I met a maiden with such a pure heart. Let me dream up some poems about her while I went to wash the dishes. Oh boy. That night, a fellow servant bullied me into doing his groceries. I dashed across Melody Way, bumping into more villagers than I could count. One of them threatened to hit me, but I claimed to be the king's favorite servant, so he left me be. I wouldn't go with the word favorite, but okay. None of that mattered now. I needed to know how Sasa and Miyon's mission turned out. Neither of them had appeared on Melody Way. I took that as a bad sign and prayed I had simply failed to spot them among the crowd. Still, at least I should have been able to hear their ringing bells as they walked by. Right now I could only hear that drunk guy in the corner, yabbering about his premonition of East and West Taria going to war. I don't know how true or false of a premonition that's gonna be. As I bought some pears and checked off the last item on my shopping list, the grocery lady said I needed a shower. All this running did leave me drenched in sweat, but whatever. I ran back to the temple, only taking short breaks when my lungs threatened to explode. Back in the temple at last. After sparing a moment to catch my breath, I dumped off my groceries and trotted straight for Miyon's room. Just as I was about to knock on the door, I heard voices coming from inside. Uh-oh. Based off of that, I'm gonna guess that... Oh, which one was against it? I don't remember. This is why I was upset. This is why I was against it. The doors muffled Miyon's word. Oh, derp. Miyon. But I could still hear her erratic breathing. What's going to happen to you? I've known King Locke for many years. It'll be okay, Sasa said. As I heard Miyon's sniffles, I felt as if someone was pinching my heart with tweezers. I have a feeling they got caught. The guards must have caught Miyon and Sasa in their act, then. I should have helped, even if it meant displeasing Sasa. Instead, I obsessed over how I could impress her by obeying her every word. Well played, Guy. I reached for the doors, but guilt caused me to pull back. Miyon would hate to have me see her cry anyway. The memory of Locke passing on that death sentence had given me several nightmares of myself on a guillotine. Now Sasa must answer to the king? The possibilities almost made me forget how to breathe. Okay, there we go. Switch with me, I said to the servant who had been assigned to broom the king's chamber. The servant murmured something about following the rules. I dug my nails into her shoulder and leaned in close enough to touch her nose. Wait. Did we skip something? That's a pretty significant time skip all of a sudden. Sasa's in there with King Locke right now. If anything happens to her on your watch, I swear, I don't know what I'll do. Okay, let's swap then. The servant's eyes started to water. Only then did I realize I had been shaking her. Once I let go, she handed me her broom and shuffled off. Damn it, I had better go and apologize to her later. A sleepless guy had always been too grumpy for even his own liking. After slapping my cheeks to wake myself up, I headed into the throne room. Sasa sat on her knees before Locke, who, as always, remained hidden behind his curtain. Perhaps this separation was what allowed him to issue those death sentences so heartlessly. Or maybe he just had no heart at all. I insisted on taking Miyon outside. The blame lies solely with me, Sasa said, her words lowered at the undeserving king. Despite her predicament, not once did she stumble on her words. That was the Sasa I knew and loved. You've known her barely a week. You've no need to defend Miyon, Locke said. I'd never bring harm to our nation's mightiest tool. A tool, he said. I squeezed my hands against the broom, wincing as several splinters dug into my flesh. Miyon sensed joy whenever Sasa paid a visit, then loneliness after she left. A tool could never comprehend such feelings. Sasa, you too are of good use to me. Our guests are rather fond of your performances, Locke grunted. I'll let these things slide this time, but your next blunder shall be your last. Know that you're replaceable like the rest. Locke, you've made the right choice, I thought, but my shaking knees reminded me of my helplessness. If the king ordered for Sasa's beheading and I tried to interfere, he might force me to pull the guillotine lever just for laughs. Yeah, probably. After bowing at the king, Sasa rose and spun to leave the room. Our eyes met, but she exited without saying a word. To Locke's knowledge, Sasa and I had nothing to do with each other. Probably best for things to stay that way. For the first time, I stood alone in the chamber with Locke. Though he said nothing to me, I still felt my palms sweating up. I swept the carpet as fast as I could, praying Locke would afford me no attention. My king, nothing beat a nap under the morning sun. Why not give it a try rather than wasting your royal saliva talking to the likes of me? With my cleaning done, I managed to escape the chamber unscathed. Sasa stood in the corner with her back pressed against the wall. She had both hands cupped over her chest, finally betraying a hint of her anxiety. The sight of Sasa flustering made me frown in disappointment. Nothing ever seemed to stir Sasa, and I had hoped for this image of her to remain untainted. I wanted to punch myself for having such a selfish wish. When Sasa noticed me, she smiled to act tough for my sake. She bent down to stretch my cheek, yet right now, in my eyes, she looked as small as a kitten. I imagined she might cry alone in her room later, but I lacked the courage to speak up about it. Tell Miyon I'm okay, Sasa said, still smiling. And how about you? Really, I'm fine, silly. There's no need to look so pale. Now that she mentioned it, my cheeks did feel cold. An outsider like me ended up being more scared than someone directly involved. This must be the difference between a kid and an adult. You're amazing, I blurted out and immediately blushed. Sasa patted my head. Why would you think that? You always know how to act. You never say anything wrong. That is the furthest thing from the truth, Sasa chuckled, but her soft tone told me she was hiding something. Whatever it was, I sensed asking would be like crashing a wagon into a brick wall, and I would rather keep our relationship dent-free. Sasa no doubt had questions for me as well. Every servant had a dark past to hide, yet Sasa never forced it out of me. I still had so much to learn from her. If only you could rule this nation, Sasa. I'm sick of serving a king like that, I said. Sasa tapped a finger over my lips. Watch your words when you're in the temple. I nodded and Sasa lowered her finger. People are more complex than you think, Guy. King Locke once had a kinder heart. I imagined Locke helping elderlies across the street and feeding food to the poor. That seemed about as likely as Miyon offering me praise for my work. When I first started performing, I played in clubs that paid me with bronze. Some nothing at all, Sasa said. King Locke discovered and hired me into the temple. I'll always be grateful for that. Are you sure we're talking about the same king? He's been through more than you might think. Never try and read another person's mind. Excuse me. Sasa bumped her forehead against mine. Let it go, Guy. Enjoy being a kid while you're still one. Sasa extended her hand. I coiled my fingers around hers, and she let me hold her hand all the way back up to the temple entrance. Sasa's hand felt cold, even by East Tarian standards. Locke must have drained all the warmth out of her. I squeezed her fingers in hopes of warming her a touch, but she beamed at me in return. Though Sasa had told me to enjoy childhood, I wished I could transform into an adult tomorrow. Being surrounded by all these grown-ups made me feel about as useful as that shattered lantern by the wall. Transition and time skip. I asked for 3 apples, not 2. Miyon shook her head. Is your head empty? Miyon usually spoke to me with 0 emotion, but tonight she graced me with an ounce of anger in her tone. With Sasa in the room, maybe Miyon wanted to impress her with the perfect ritual. I balled my hands into fists. If Miyon was a boy, I would have already punched her. Or him, or whatever. Sasa darted her eyes between Miyon and I, wearing a pained expression like she had just swallowed sour candy. Enough was enough, yet Miyon pressed on. These are sacred fruits gifted to the goddesses. My ritual will be ruined if they become angered. I'm the one who's become angered. The words wormed out of my gritted teeth. Sasa stroked my back, but I eased her hand away. You think you're so special just because you have some powers? This is why everyone calls you a monster. Oh, that's not going to go over well. Miyon threw one of those sacred apples at my face. I narrowly avoided the fruit, which splattered against the wall. Miyon hurled a banana at me next. This time the fruit smacked me square on my forehead. If I hurt Miyon, Locke would have my head. But my rage had blocked out that fear. No. I picked up a pear and prepared to show Miyon how to really throw something. "Stop it at once, both of you," Sasa said. Miyon and I froze stiff. Sasa pierced into my heart with her gaze. "Put down that pear." Sasa never had to put on any scary faces. When her smile disappeared, that was frightening enough. Her stern tone reminded me she was an adult, while Miyon and I were children. I lowered the pear as told. Miyon bit her lip and lowered her chin. Sasa's mood shift must have startled her as well. Compared to facing Locke, my fight with Miyon should have been a trivial matter. Why Sasa would overreact this way left me baffled. "Guy." With that single word from Sasa, I straightened my back and listened. "Miyon's a girl, not a monster. A man should handle things more calmly." But I'm a kid, not a man. My only goal in this temple was to impress Sasa. Yet now I had done the exact opposite. I closed my eyes for a moment to fight back the surging tears. Sasa faced Miyon next. "If you want to be treated nicely, you have to be nice to others first. Have you even bothered to address Guy by name?" "Sorry, Sasa," Miyon murmured. Her shaking voice told me she must be holding back tears as well. Seeing her this way made me forgive all of her crimes. This was why girls really annoyed me sometimes. Sasa grabbed my wrist and forced me to hold hands with Miyon. That marked the first time I ever had physical contact with her. I never noticed before that her hand was almost small enough to fit in my palm. The realization made her seem so much less terrifying. Miyon's skin gave off such warmth, too. No monster, tool, or treasure could possibly do the same. These flooding thoughts made my ears turn red. Sasa held Miyon's hand, then did the same with me. The three of us now sat with fingers interlocked, forming a triangle around the room. Sasa closed her eyes and began to speak. Time passes faster than you might think, so please, cherish every moment you spend with one another." Miyon and I managed small nods. After pulling us both into her embrace, Sasa's usual smile returned. My shoulders slumped as the tension eased away at last. "I should head back. It's getting quite late," Sasa said. As always, I rose to escort her out. The walks we shared might be brief, but I looked forward to them more than any other activity in this temple. As Sasa stepped out the door, Miyon whispered, "Sorry, Sasa. Please come back again, okay?" Sasa walked back in to pull Miyon's cheeks and lift them into a smile. She and I then left the room for good. As Sasa and I strolled along the courtyard, my brain scrambled for words that would break this silence. "You never fail to amaze me." Sasa glanced over her shoulder to give me a wink. "Have you fallen for me?" No, I retorted, and Sasa burst into laughter. My stuttering gave the truth away. A grown-up like Sasa must have already memorized every trick in my children's book. Sasa stopped chuckling and spoke. "Too bad for us both I'm married with children." She turned her head towards me. "A widow, to be exact." I stopped on my tracks as if the air before me had formed into a wall. Sasa spent time with a brat like Miyon, then went home and looked after her children? All alone? I doubted I would ever possess that strength, no matter how old I got. Still, I must have earned enough of Sasa's trust for her to tell me about herself. I resisted the urge to smile over that. As for our potential romance, it stung that my chances just dropped from 0% to -100. Sasa leaped behind me and pushed my back to spur me forward. "This is why you and Miyon need to pair up already." We arrived at the temple entrance, saved not by the bell, but rather the gates. Good night, Sasa. The next day, I stopped out of the temple for my grocery duties, the one chore I looked forward to every month. Each time I came out, I considered running for good and joining those homeless children stealing on the streets. Doing so, however, would mean no more of Sasa's hugs and face pinches. And, well, okay. I might miss those 1 in a million cases where Miyon did something cute. As I strolled along Melody Way, I noticed the lanterns that lined the streets. These lanterns came in all kinds of colors and patterns. One of them featured a bikini-wearing girl who looked a bit like Sasa. I stared at it a little too long and almost crashed into a lamppost. After returning to the temple, I asked a servant what those lanterns were about. "Oh, that's the Lantern Festival. It's on tomorrow night, I think," the servant said. "Not that it has anything to do with us." Yeah, he was certainly right about that. Later that day, I visited Miyon's room to wash the windows. When I walked in, Miyon turned to see who it was, but once our eyes met, she turned her head right back. Neither of us had spoken a word to one another since our fight. Oh, wait. Miyon never spoke to me unless she needed to tell me off, anyway. Call me crazy, but I would rather be reprimanded than suffocate in this silence. Despite what Sasa had said, I refused to be the first to speak. It was I who took a banana to the head, so I had no reason to apologize. As I began to wipe the windows with a towel, Miyon put her hands on the railing and stared at the garden. She probably just wanted to avoid me, but one other possibility crossed my mind. Could it be that she knew of the Lantern Festival and wanted to go? Forget the festival. To Miyon, going outside in a thunderstorm during a bandit raid would still be a dream come true. Just how long had she been locked inside this temple? I wanted to ask her, then remembered she and I were at war. Though I kept complaining about being useless, so far I had done nothing to change the situation. Sasa did say Locke once had a kind heart, so maybe I could try a little something? Oh, Guy, you little fool. No, no, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. All of the no. No, 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 no. Oh. The next morning, inside the throne room, I dropped onto my hands and knees before Locke. Please, let Miyon attend the Lantern Festival. I swear to take all responsibility. The moment I said these words, I wish I could jam them all back down my throat like a jar of cookies. Go on, tell the king it was opposite day. Locke exhaled from behind the curtain. That single sound almost knocked my heart up into my brain, causing more words to come spilling out. Miyon seems tired lately, so it might affect her rituals, and I figured some time off would do her good. Locke remained silent for a long time. I must have left my mind in bed because even I had no idea what I just said. Maybe I should repeat myself, but that might seem insulting to the king. Never should have come here, Guy.
If she loses a hair, it's your head.
I can't do the low voice, Locke said. Crap. He said something about my head? You had a good run, Guy. Goodbye, cruel world. No, hold on. He mean to say that Miyon was allowed to go? My heart might burst like a balloon if he kept poking at it like this. Yes, of course. I'm grateful for your kindness. I rose and stumbled out, almost tripping over my own foot in the process. As soon as I exited the room, I hid behind a wall and slid onto my backside. Guy, yes, you, listen. Never do such a stupid thing again. I had enough sweat on my brows to fill a mug. As I ran my shaking hands over my face, I realized I was grinning. Time to see what Sasa and Miyon had to say about this. And we're going to have to see what they have to say about this next time, because we are out of time for this episode. I'm intrigued to see where this goes and how they fare with this festival, but I'm a little confused as to some of the time skips and transitions going on. I wasn't expecting random time skips, well, not random time skips like that, but just time skips from plot point to plot point like that. I would have appreciated even a slide or two of transitioning time to show, like, hey, we're jumping from this plot point to what happened after. I feel like I missed a slide or two, especially with the whole Sasa screwing up part, but hopefully it balances out later on. And I'm hoping there's a bit more coming up in regards to Guy, and it just seems like, okay, dude, you got sold by your parents to the other nation as a slave, and you're just going to take it. Like, there's no real fighting back, no real emotions, no real internal dialogue about you got sold into servitude by your parents to the enemy, basically, and you don't seem to have much problem with this or much say about it, or any commentary, really. I'm expecting more of it to kind of progress throughout the story. Like, how does he handle this? How does he adapt to the new scenarios? He seems to not really care because, hey, there's a pretty face that he gets to see occasionally. Like, really? I know he's a child, but come on. Hopefully we will see more of our protagonists in future episodes. As always, click that subscribe button so you can be notified when new episodes come out. Go check out all the other shenanigans we get up to, from other Game Break series to convention shenanigans and interviews to all sorts of other ideas and endeavors that we're putting together for the future. And as always, until next time, go be creative. Go play some games. Go read some stories. Go enjoy some other people's creations. Go create some of your own and then share them with others so we can all enjoy. And I will see you all next time.